Her name is Francine Floreani. Francine, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you.
Hi, Francine. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. And thank you for having me on your show.
You know, I when I heard of your background, I couldn't help but chuckle because often we don't really realize the diverse backgrounds that people have before they jump into the industry that becomes their livelihood. It becomes their love. It becomes their career. Can you tell the listenership, number one, what you do for a living, because it's fascinating, and also where you were working before this opportunity of working at a car dealership happened?
Sure. Okay. So I live in Sault Ste. Marie, which is in Northern Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
And I own and run the Honda dealership called Great Lakes Honda. And I've had that opportunity since 2010. So in 2010, my husband's an orthodontist, and I ran his orthodontic practice for about 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And very successful practice. And so this opportunity came up that this dealership was for sale. So my husband said, I'm going to go in with a partner and we're going to buy this dealership. I'm still going to continue my day job. I'm not going to give up doing, orthodontics.
Orthodontist, yeah.
Yeah, he does braces. So he said, I'll get a partner and he'll run that part. I'll be the silent partner. So I said, yeah, sure, let's do it. It was a great opportunity because the Honda store was not well managed, so this was a great thing to kind of turn around. So we bought it, and then after about 10 or 15 months, the managing partner was struggling, and it wasn't going very well. It wasn't going the way that we wanted it to be run. And of course, being in customer service, this was a big thing for us. So my husband said, okay, well, let's buy him out and, let's think about who would be running it. And I said, well, why don't I run it? And
That's
he said,
amazing.
well,
That's amazing.
What do you know about cars? I said, I don't know anything about cars, but I know how to run a business. I know how to manage people. I know great customer service. And if this is what we're going to be doing, then I said, let me have a shot at it. So
Wow.
we called Honda Canada, and they said, wow, she doesn't know anything about this. And he said, no, but, this is what we can do with it. So they considered it. I attended the NADA, and I did the course. It almost takes, almost a year to complete it.
It does.
And during that time, I got really comfortable with the team there, and then we grew the business. I mean, when I started, there was 17 people. Now we're up to 45.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have never looked back. It's just been one of those things. And I tell people, I said, I'm still in the smile business. I said, because when we were doing orthodontics, we were providing great, beautiful smiles. And now we still have smiles because people are so happy when they buy their vehicle. And they say, this was such a great experience for us. We're very happy with our purchase, and we're going to tell more people. And that's how we've grown, over the years. So it's fantastic.
If you are just tuning into the show, this is the Greg Carrasco Show here on TSN 1050, and this is Canada's largest automotive radio show. And right now with us, we have Francine Floreani. She is the dealer principal and general manager of Great Lakes Honda in Sault Ste. Marie. And, a mere 10 years ago, she was working at an orthodontics office. As you're telling your story, Francine, I couldn't help but, just feel so, slightly emotional in the sense that, the amount of courage. No, honestly, I mean, how courageous you need to be to jump into the seat of running a car dealership, because I've been doing this for a long time now, and I know how daunting it can be. So for you to even jump into it, it required a tremendous amount of courage. Now, a very little known fact is that when I attended the NADA, the statistic was this, that only 2% of Canadian general managers had an actual NADA certification. And many people don't know what that is. Can you explain to listeners what the NADA certification is?
Sure. So it's basically a program designed to educate future dealers or general managers who have aspirations of actually, running a store, a dealership, or owning one. And typically, if you've grown up in the car business, you would start off if your parents own one, then there's a good possibility that the OEM would encourage you to attend the NADA. At the time when I did it, Georgian College didn't have their program, and I
That's
would
right.
strongly encourage
Which year did you
that
go
one as
to?
well, because it's fantastic. But at the time when I went, the Georgian College didn't have their program. And so
Which year was
basically,
this, Francine? Sorry. Which year
I'm
did you
sorry?
attend to?
I went to the NADA.
Yeah, which year?
2011, 2012.
Oh, okay. Yeah, carry on with the explanation.
Yeah. So at the time, and I think what you're asking me is what the program's all about, and it's basically like a mentorship and an education where you attend the NADA University. You learn a lot about each facet of the automobile business. And it's fantastic. The professors are wonderful. You get to meet tons of people from all over the world. There was a guy in my class that was from Chile, and he came from his family owned a lot of dealerships, so he was there as well. So there's and you get to meet wonderful people, and you all share the same passion, but you all come from different backgrounds. But
Now,
it's just wonderful.
Sorry to interrupt you. Did you, at any point during your desire to join an industry that was new to you and
Yes.
with a system that you had never worked before, did you ever feel uncomfortable or that the system was unfriendly to you simply because you were a woman?
In Sault Ste. Marie, it's a kind of a blue-collar town. So typically, there were never any female dealers. So going into this, I was a new kid on the block, and certainly not having any car experience. I felt like I was a little bit of the underdog. But you know what? As you start to work with people, and, I've got a great team, I felt that I had what I needed to succeed, because without people, we know that any business doesn't work. You need to have really good people working for you. And I felt that I didn't have any drawbacks that way. And when I was at the NADA, there were a lot of women, and I felt very comfortable there. And it's funny because I remember walking into the first class, and we all had to introduce ourselves, and everybody had 5 years experience, 10 years experience, 20 years experience. And I'm like, and they said, well, how many years experience? I said, I have none. And they're
Zero.
like, wow. And I'll tell you, the learning curve is steep, but you know what? It is a fascinating and wonderful field. And I would encourage women who even don't have any experience to try it. If you have any, like you introduced the whole subject, if you have accounting background, you have some mechanical background, you have customer experience. I mean, what better field to go into? What better career, right?
It is, it's fascinating, the different aspects of a car dealership that are simply not known by the general population. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, Francine, because you were new, you were coming with fresh eyes, and
Yes.
you were looking at an industry that, has refused to change for so long. What were some of the first changes that you implemented at your store that makes your store so special? Because after talking to Todd, your store is very, very special. So what are some of the things that you did right away that made a material impact on the way that your store was perceived?
Well, first of all, we had to create a brand for ourselves. So I took on, just because the Sault Ste. Marie is not that big, 80,000 people, I started advertising on the radio. And so we created a brand for ourselves in that I was run by a woman. If you didn't feel comfortable dealing with, a male-dominated industry, this was the place to come. I wanted to make it different. I wanted to make it so that it was very open, and there was nothing to hide. We were very transparent. That was not, 10 years ago, that was kind of all new lingo. Nobody really talked about transparency. It was like you sat in an office and you closed the door and you hammered down the deal. Well, we were totally different. It was like, okay, let's sit down. Let's have a coffee. Let's talk about what your needs are. We had open concept, which was not common, 10 years ago. So we just took it very differently. And then one of the first things I did is I got rid of the newspaper. I said, we're not advertising on newspaper. We're kind of the first ones to do social media, and just started doing a few things on Google Ads. Now this is the typical thing, but 10 years ago it wasn't that common.
It
right?
wasn't that
So
common, and I'm sure that you didn't make a lot of friends in the process.
yeah, have lots of followers, so we started doing that. And then other dealers started catching on, but I think it was just the industry was ready for the change as well.
Now, as a female dealer principal, do you find that you can relate to your staff in a different way? Do you find that the reception that you get from your people and from the community by and large is something that you feel comfortable with? What do you think that have been your biggest challenges so far in your career? Because I mean, 10 years from an orthodontic office to a dealer principal is not a long time.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I would have to say that, I think that I did hire younger people who were receptive to change. And I think that's what you have to kind of you have to bring that home to people, is that, yes, there are some older team members that can flourish. But if they're not accepting of change and how things are going to make an impact in your business, then they're on the wrong bus. You have to get people that are with you, have the same values. And that was another thing, too, is developing your values and your mission statement and making it clear to people that we are going to be different. And if you're not with us, then you got to get off the bus, basically, or we got to change your position. Those were all kind of the lingo that I, also learned at the NADA, is that, we often compared that analogy as if people on the bus and on the wrong seat, and you can change them. One of my favorite quotes from one of my professors was, when it comes to people, you train, you retrain, or you replace. And I thought, wow, what a great thing. So that still sticks with me, because often, you hire somebody and they might not be great at this, but you try them somewhere else or you retrain them. And if it doesn't work out, you know what? This isn't cut out for you. Let's get somebody that's excited and is willing to take on the challenge, right? So, yeah.
With the way that I run my store, I try to look at it from a relocation or redirection of their career. I never really replace them, because the truth is this: just because you like an industry or just because you think that you can do a good job, it doesn't by proxy. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are good at it. And sometimes it's not the plant itself; it's the soil. And if the soil of a car dealership is not the right soil, then you owe it to your staff to redirect their career choices into other things. And those are tough decisions. And I got to tell you from a personal experience that, relocating, some of the members of your staff that become friends, that become, close. I mean, this is a family that we see them more than we see our kids. So to relocate one of those people is by far the most difficult thing that I need to do as a general manager or vice president of a company. Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes that's not the fun part of our job, but I think that when they find the right seat on the bus, I think that they're happier and you get more production and you get a happier employee in the end. And, happy employees produce more. They take care of our customers. All those things, right? So, yeah,
it's fascinating how strange of a concept that is, that happy employee are more productive, period. And if you don't look after your employees and you are not in a constant state of making their life a little easier, you cannot expect for them to do the same to their customers. So essentially, your employees are just the way you treat your employees are just a reflection of the way that they will treat your own customers. And that is a common thing that is amiss in the car industry. Now, if you were talking to women that are thinking about joining our industry, what would be your message, Francine?
My message would be, and it's funny because the local Chamber of Commerce asked me to talk about exactly this a couple of years ago. And I said, I would encourage women to have the same mantra as Nike. Just do it. If it's something that's always been in the back of your mind, should I try this? Should I maybe look at being a service advisor? Should I look at accounting? Should I look at selling cars? I mean, there's so many things that we can do so well. as women in the auto industry, I say just do it. If you're thinking about it, do it and try it. You're not gonna lose. You know, it's such a great career.
Those are words of wisdom right there by Francine Floreani, who is the dealer principal and general manager of the Great Lakes Honda and Sault Ste. Marie. Just like I mentioned to every one of my guests today on the show, Francine, you have an open invitation here on the show. The show is heard across the country, and the podcast version of it is available on iTunes, so you can just subscribe and hear it every week. And all we try to do is just to bring some common sense and transparency into an industry that has been so obscure for so many years, and there are no taboo topics on the show. And the fact that you took time out of a crazy morning, because as a dealer principal, I can only imagine how many things you have to do on a regular basis. I had to thank you, and also, kudos to you. Because you took a leap of faith in this. You jumped into an industry that you didn't know anything about, and you just crushed it. You are now the dealer principal of a Honda franchise, which is arguably some of the most valuable franchises on the planet. And, that wouldn't have happened if you didn't say to yourself your own slogan, just do it. You just did it. So you are the living, walking proof that when you feel it and you think that you can't, you just have to do it. Nothing bad will happen if you have the conviction that you can get the job done. Would you agree with that?
Totally, yes. And also, I think, as like you said, and sometimes I have to give my head a shake, is like, what was I thinking of? But it was a leap of faith. And I look back and I think, you know what? Would I do it differently? No. And am I an inspiration to some young women? Yes, I am, because a lot of them, they'll apply, and I'll during the interview, I'll say, well, why did you choose to apply here? Oh, because I want to work for you, because I feel that if I can make a difference for women. I'm like, wow, that's good. That's good.
That is amazing.
Yeah, preach what you want, right?
Exactly, Francine.
You gotta walk the talk too.
Oh, hello, I'm a guest on the Greg Krasko show coming up.
There you go. We have our next guest on the line. Francine, thank you so much for calling the show. And again, you can call us anytime. If at any point you want to say anything that you want to carry out as a general message, just call us and we'll look after you here. Thank you once again for joining us, and I hope you have an amazing weekend.
And likewise to you. And thank you for allowing me to be part of this today.
That's amazing. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Francine Floreani. She's the dealer principal and general manager of Great Lakes Honda and Sault Ste. Marie.